It's the largest nature reserve in France and one of the most robust. Situated between the Alps and the Rhone Valley, the Vercors mountain range is recognisable by its distinctive thick layer of limestone. French writer Jean Giono once called the Vercors a little hidden world where the sky rests on the mountains. The sky is too large to pass through these narrow gorges, where only water has found a way to cut a path. Here in Chorange, it has carved a beautiful cave that's now open to the public.
There are 300 meters of rock above us, and most of the Vercors rivers are hidden a few hundred meters deep.
These rivers have created a gigantic and magical underground limestone landscape. 3,500 caves have been identified so far in Chorange. 500 meters of tunnels have been hollowed out, and the river has dug through over 30 kilometers of rock.
Is there any water today then?
Well, it has rained a fair bit, but I think we're okay. Conditions are good.
Thanks to landowner Laurent we have access to Gournier, a cavern that all the cavers in the world dream of exploring.
There are still areas to discover. This is what makes the network of the Vercors so mythical. We're constantly exploring and discovering these mountain ranges.
For this visit, we definitely need a guide.
It's easily accessible to many people. However, you need to be aware of the cave's dangers. It's necessary to have a good command of roping and sailing, but it's actually fairly accessible.
The expedition begins after a trip across the lake. Our guide has installed a rope so that we can move along the wall.
Perfect. Okay, great.
After just 30 meters, we arrive at the actual entrance to the cave.
On one side there's the heat from outside, and the other there's coolness.
And the view is breathtaking.
The pools are really full of water. Well, obviously it's the right period.
Ah, fantastic.
We wind our way along the river on the edge of a small natural pool called a gueux through the walls of limestone.
It's really rising here.
It's called the Big Gournier.
Now we're just arriving in the giant tunnels.
If we didn't have our lamps, we would be in total darkness.
There's clay. It's a bit slippery.
Suddenly, we run into something.
There's a bat.
We'll have to be a bit careful, as there's a bat in the caves.
There are around 30 species in France, 32, and I think that 28 of them are in the Born Gorges. This is a major site for them. We're very careful when we pass through the caves. We mustn't shine any light on them.
Laurent has been coming here since he was 5 years old. He sometimes explores the abyss for several days on end.
At the end of the day, a cave is something that protects us. It's not going to be minus 50 degrees, like when you're on the ridge of Mont Blanc or in the middle of a stormy sea. You're often in a team here with friends, so you can share deep and meaningful moments. When you discover new places, do you imagine discovering landscapes like this? It's really amazing. For me, it's a place where I feel really fulfilled.
The Vercors is not only a caving paradise, but also a popular place for mountaineers.
The Mont Aiguille, that's a long story. The first ascent was in 1492, over 500 years ago.
Mont Blanc was only conquered 3 centuries later. Equally fascinating is the Mont Aiguille, also known as the Inaccessible Mountain.
This mountain is unique in Europe. It's the only one I know that's surrounded by cliffs. You can't go up walking it. You have to get your ropes out and climb up. It's accessible to people who've never done that before. So to get up there by having climbed up, yeah, it's fantastic for them.
This is where the writer Jean Giono spent his holidays. He spoke of this region as a sanctuary. Here in Trezane, the chapel is having its thatched roof replaced.
It's rye straw, which is then layered down in lines.
The region feels almost untouched by modern life. Many people take to their bikes to best enjoy the views.
We take groups to discover the Vercors Plateau. This Vercors Way is essentially the main artery that allows us to visit the farms. It's around 40 kilometers long.
Over there we have the largest, the Cornifion, then the Rocher de l'Ours, and the Col de l'Arc.
Thanks to these electric mountain bikes, even the least sporty people can enjoy long outings here. The Vercors Mountains showcase their pretty villages and wildlife. Some of its treasures, though, are very small and discreet, like its orchids.
Here we have a beautiful specimen. It has a shape that attracts insects 99% of the time. The most common types are generally found in the rainforest, and there are several hundred in Europe. Today there are scientists who still discover unique orchids in this small area.
Found all over the globe, orchids are nevertheless rare and are therefore protected. In France, they have chosen these mountains as their habitat, on the slopes of this rich and welcoming land.